and welcome back to Michigan Matters. We're now talking with Eric Poe, who's CEO of Cure Auto Insurance. It's been a few years since you've been here. How are you doing?
Doing very well. Thanks for having me.
There's so much going on here. You know, one question that I don't think I've ever asked, what does CURE stand for, if anything?
It stands for Citizens United Reciprocal Exchange.
I know why you're calling it CURE then.
Yes.
That very cool name here. The company's based in New Jersey. You decided to enter the Michigan market. I don't know how many years it's been since you entered.
3 years ago.
How has it gone?
It's gone very well. We insure now about 125,000 people. About 95,000 to 100,000 are in Detroit proper. So 40% of those people are people that couldn't afford car insurance before the Reform Act. So I would say highly successful from all of our metrics.
You also opened up an office in downtown Detroit. I know you had a big ribbon cutting, and Mike Duggan and other luminaries from the city were there as well. And why was it important to be in Detroit?
Well, I feel like, in your last segment you talked about like how much Detroit has sort of reinvigorated itself. I mean, from a bankruptcy to, I come to Detroit now, and I actually think it's one of my favorite cities to visit. It's like watching professional sports is so easy. The downtown is really safe. All the restaurants are really cool. I think, for us to insure so many people from Detroit, and I've had people tell me it's changed their lives just because they can afford car insurance and not drive around worried that they're going to get pulled over and get a fine or go to jail. It was important for us to send the message that we believe in the city as well.
How are you able to provide insurance at affordable rates when other insurers have not been doing that?
Well, so Michigan's been in sort of like a 46-year leper colony until the Reform Act was passed. So insurance carriers were losing money hand over foot as an industry. So when there's a new law as transformative as it was in 2019, traditional insurance carriers don't move their rates until they see actual data to support it. We had the fortunate ability to project a little better than what the traditional legacy carriers were because we were in the same state that you guys were in New Jersey, for about 20-some years until we had our first Reform Act. So we could predict what was going to happen when we put caps.
So you were also involved in New Jersey, and you were testifying. In fact, you're a lawyer by training, right? And you testified in New Jersey. You've actually testified up in Lansing, and you've been in Washington testifying about all of this. So can you draw any similarities between New Jersey and Michigan?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. Once we've gotten here, we've gotten our feet wet, and we've learned a lot. A lot of fraud and abuse still occurs. This system in Michigan, one of the main culprits of why everyone pays so much for car insurance, everyone tries to say, oh, it's about catastrophic injuries or that type of thing. We don't have an arbitration system in no fault in Michigan. So what that means is, if you get into any dispute with somebody who sends you a bill for treatment, you have to go to court. Right now, 40% of all of the courts in Michigan are no-fault disputes. 40% of your judges, your juries, are paying for, your taxes are paying for disputing what a bill would be for no fault. So the system itself is still a little broken, and that's probably why most carriers don't want to do business in the state.
How do we remedy this? And I don't know if New Jersey did something that got them over the hump. I know New Jersey's rates are still high, but it's better than what they were. How about here in Michigan? What needs to happen to help, I don't know if I want to say level the playing field, but so that rates come down for people and it's not priced out?
Well, I would say that, number one, we have to go to an arbitration system. The fact that if somebody says they bill me, for example, a real-life bill I got for $2,358 for diclofenac sodium gel at 3%. It's prescribed by a doctor, a chiropractor. And literally, that $2,358 bill, if you go online, I can buy for $170. So if I say I'm not going to pay $2,358.90, I have to go to court and litigate it for 2 years. So when you have a system that gears the only people, and anybody who drives in Detroit or anybody who drives on the highway in Michigan can attest to this, how many of those billboards don't say something about an attorney for car accidents? When it becomes 90% of the billboards you see on the highway, that's because there's a system that's broken that only helps lawyers and people that abuse the system.
Is there an appetite to change the current status of what's going on with our insurance reform right now in Michigan?
The funny thing is that the appetite that people try to give is this false narrative that catastrophically injured people are not getting treated. It would be shocking to most people, but $2.3 billion was paid out last year in Michigan for no fault. Out of that staggering number, 44% of what's paid out are soft tissue payments. So chiropractors, physical therapy. We're not talking about catastrophically injured people. We're talking about abuse of people that have chiropractors say that, you can be disabled for an entire year or 2 years, and a chiro can write the script to say you're disabled for 2 years.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so, there's an appetite to change certain things. For us, status quo would still be better than making the wrong mistake and changing or undoing something that happened in 2019.
And we're going to continue the conversation here. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back with more Michigan Matters and Eric Poe right after this. And welcome back to Michigan Matters. We're talking with Eric Poe of Cure Auto Insurance, talking about auto insurance rates, which has been it's a huge issue, and it seems like the rates keep going up, up, up. They're not going down necessarily here. So you talked about some misnomers and things that were happening that weren't accurate. What is another fallacy in all of this?
So the fallacy is that there is catastrophically injured people that are constantly being left in the dark, and that the people in this bill that are paying for treatment of those people are getting left out in the dark. The startling statistics will show you that 44% of all of no-fault payments are for soft tissue injuries. So when you think about that and add 16% of all of the costs for no fault are for wage loss, for if somebody says that you're disabled, and that there's no criteria for putting you out wage loss. So in the state of Michigan, any other no fault state, a chiropractor can say, Carol, you're not going to work for the next 3 years. And a car insurance company is going to have to pay for your wages for the next 3 years. And the soft tissue injury is part of that. We're talking about over $1 billion is being paid just for chiropractor treatment.
Right.
So the notion, catastrophic injuries occur 1% of the time, legitimate ones. 1% of these accidents aren't the problem. So that's pretty much the biggest misnomer.
There's fraud going on here.
Yes, fraud.
And I go back to the appetite to address this and come up with some resolution of this. And there's bills in Lansing. Are there any bills that you think would help address some of this in a realistic, pragmatic manner?
The two bills. One is a predatory towing bill, which will make Michigan the most consumer-friendly towing state in the country, because there are tow companies that literally kidnap your car and then bill us $4,000 and won't let us have the car back unless we give them $4,000. So that drives up costs for everybody when you have that type of fraud and abuse. And there is a bill dealing with insurance fraud. Right now in Michigan, if you steal $1 million from an insurance company for car insurance because you lie about treatment, you do something like that. If I sue you as an insurance company and I go to trial and I win, the only thing I get back is what you stole from me. All other states have insurance fraud bills that give you 3 times damages of what you've been stolen. That acts as a deterrent for people to commit fraud, and it gives you an incentive as an insurance company to pursue fraud. But everybody right now in Michigan, half of what you're paying right now is fraud and abuse. It's plain and simple.
How often when you're out in the community here now and you're talking with people, are people talking to your ear about this? Because I know anytime someone moves here from another place and they're in the city and they're screaming bloody murder about how much they're paying for their auto insurance in particular. You must hear about this all the time.
Yeah, well, I mean, I feel like the best stories I hear are really people that come up to me in Detroit and say, oh my God, I'm saving so much money. Thank you so much for writing insurance. That is actually heartwarming because, when we do insurance, it's not normally the type of thing that warms your heart. But that story is great. The fact that we don't use credit scores at all is something that's really made a big difference for why 100,000 drivers in Detroit find our insurance affordable. But the biggest thing for us is making sure that people become educated on this no-fault problem. This no-fault problem has nothing to do with catastrophically injured people. I can say that with empirical data of being here for 3 years.
How many people would you guesstimate are out on the roads with no insurance still?
Well, the number before the reform was 23%. The number now is apparently under 17%. So it's been a massive improvement. And I think as the data keeps showing that no fault is working, meaning the reforms are working, you're going to see rates go down by other carriers. Right now, they're a little gun shy. The other thing is your agent or broker that lives in your neighborhood, they get paid a commission. So why are they ever going to tell you, Carol, hey, by the way, you should choose a new option that'll save you more money if my commission is going to go down? So that's one thing that people don't understand. So 64% of the drivers still maintain unlimited no fault, and primarily because agents or brokers will tell you, Carol, you don't want to go, and what if you get in a car accident and something really bad
How much of this has to do with the fact that when you start talking about rates and learning all the nuances of this plan and that plan, it's confusing and it's hard to understand?
Very confusing. And so long as the industry caps costs, we'll be okay.